Welcome everybody. Thank you guys for, sparing some of your precious minutes on your weekends, here at a Walrus stream. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So, since you guys are here, I definitely have a couple things to say. All right. For people who have been following my content for a while and actually believe me when I say I don't watch leaks, this could be a very enjoyable live stream. I might make a complete fool out of myself, or I might get some things right. And to skeptics, oh sorry, I haven't even opened my so what's up everybody? Okay, so once again, I want to iterate, I myself don't look at leaks. I'm not hunting after leaks. The fact that every time a character comes out and I'm like farming for their materials after they comes out should tell you more than enough how much information I have when it comes to, and how much I care, because like what they require for Ascension nowadays are pre-revealed to us on the website. But I'm just like, I don't even bother going to like to the website, looking at it, and then going to farm it. I get the character and then I go farm it. It's okay, just listen, if I care that much, wouldn't I pre-farm all the stuff so I can release a video the day I get the character, get them to level 90? But, I'm not in it for this, like, arms race of getting videos out first. I really have to take things at my own pace. This is not a competition, although it really is a competition if you're trying to get views. But I prefer to play the game a certain way, and I hope you guys, at this point, if you're still following me, watching, tuning into my live stream, understand that I'm really not in it for the views and the clicks. It doesn't really matter to me that much, because if it did, right, if I really wanted to, I wouldn't be playing the game this way. It's incredibly difficult to be efficient for making videos by not following leaks and preparing beforehand, right? So I hope everything that I do makes sense to you, right? Like, it all connects the dots. Like, it wouldn't make sense if I say I don't look at leaks, but every time a character comes out, I always have it pre-farmed, and then like I always get things perfectly right. I get things wrong all the freaking time. You guys can't hear me? There's no way. Oh, I can't hear you. Yeah. So, so hopefully you guys can just believe me when I say I don't look at leaks, and we are about to talk about the Dendro Archon today. We have a couple hours before her kit is essentially just revealed to us publicly, right? So I'm going to be going live again in a couple of hours. Once we finish live streams here, I likely will upload a video. We are going to be recording a video, and then I'll upload that video before the Genshin 3.2 live stream, which is happening from now, I think 9 hours from now. And then, right, 9 hours. It's happening 9 hours from now. So I'll be going live again maybe in 8 hours. So you're going to be seeing me again later. So right now, here's the thing about the Dendro Archon, right? There's a couple things I want to hit on, because one of the first things I want to highlight is that I don't think we've ever been in a situation where the success of currently available 5-star characters are hinging so much on what's coming afterwards. I mean, sure, characters like Yoimiya has had great glow-ups, same with Kokobi, but they weren't inherently like waiting for another limited character to unlock their full potential. Does that make sense? I think this is the first time ever we've had not just one, but 2 limited characters who are quite desperately waiting for the arrival of a new limited character to unlock their full potential. And this is where I want to start the conversation today. I know, because I don't want to end with like, I don't want to end by putting you guys in a shitty mood. So we're going to start by putting you guys in a shitty mood. Is that okay with everybody? Right? Because this is something we have to talk about. Like, we can't just ignore this. This is Like, don't worry, we're gonna end on a happy note. Trust me, we're gonna end on a happy note so you guys can go away and be excited and stay hyped for the 3.2. But we have to start here, okay? This is important because this, it doesn't matter if you're a hardcore player or a casual player. It's not fun when you're playing a character that's lacking synergy. It's not fun when you're lacking the tools necessary to make your characters efficient, right? Efficient doesn't necessarily have to mean meta. It just means it has to feel good to play. Right now, Nilou, I've tested her on free-to-play teams. I've tested her on whale teams. She is new and interesting because she is new and we've never had something like this. But I can guarantee you this will get old really fast because we get excited for new things. Like you get, let's say you get the new iPhone 14. This is not the 14, this is the iPhone 13. But I'm just saying, let's say you get a new iPhone 14. Oh my God, so shiny, so new tech. And after about a week, you just like, whatever. It's going to be the same thing with Nilou, right? And that's why I don't know, does it not worry you guys that HoYoverse is starting to experiment with how likely people are to fall for this kind of setup, being like, well, we're going to release characters before, like, we're going to release characters first, but kind of gut them a little bit due to the fact that they don't have characters to synergize with. And then we'll release those characters in the future. So for people who are unknowing, let's say if you don't follow any content online and you pulled for Sino, right? Let's say you pulled for Sino. And then you never had plans to pull for Nahida, but once Nahida comes out, you realize, oh my God, like this is what my Sino has been needing this whole time. How does that make you feel? Like, I'm genuinely curious. I'm personally, like, I'm okay with how they do it. It's business, right? It's just business. They want to make money. But how does it make the rest of you feel? Because I know most of you guys watching are, you know, not heavy big whales. So let's do a poll, right? How does this make you feel? It's kind of ambiguous. I'm okay with it. Not so good, Mr. Stark. Haha. Bad. And the last one, I'll just say disgusted. So I hope you guys are listening at the very least, because I can't fit the whole. So basically what I mean by how does it make you feel is that, how does it make you feel that HoYoverse is releasing limited characters that needs another limited character, like 5-star. 5 stars that need other 5 stars to feel like they're complete. How does that make you feel? Walrus, I'm feeling the anxiety because I don't complete the fishing name card achievement. I swear this anxiety meme is gonna stay with the community. It's so not so good. Okay, so for the most part, people don't feel so good about it. People feel bad, some feel disgusted, but less people feel disgusted than people feeling okay with it. This move will bite them in the butt. And Techie, you were mentioning last stream or a prior stream saying that Nilou's sales are like abysmal, right? They aren't looking good. And I never had a chance to look at it on stream, so let's take a look here. Nilou sales Genshin. Can we see a chart, like comparing chart? The first day sales are not that important to me. Okay, yeah, they're like kind of lower middle of the pack. They weren't as bad as Ito. It wasn't as bad as Ito, let's just put it that way. Wow. Ito was worse. Ito was like 3 million and then 2 million. So rerun Ito, this one is like 3.6. It's similar to Zhongli rerun. But for a first-time release banner, that's kind of yikes, no? I mean, a lot of the really insane banner sales have come from reruns. Like, if you guys look at the charts. Yeah, like her and Albedo running together, I never expected it to like top charts, but you know, this is definitely lower than what I would normally expect. But then again, it's like, do people really want to play with the new reaction? Here's also something we have to touch on: the fact that we're being forced, right? If you pull for Nilou, sure, let's just live our copium dreams a little bit here and say, oh, well, I can play Vaporize. But, you know, like, can we just stop inhaling the copium for a bit, for just like a brief moment, and just admit that, like, she was designed for Bloom? Can I share the charts? Yeah, here. Here's the chart. CN iOS. Okay, so right here. You guys see that? Nilou and Albedo. 3.6. It's right around Zhongli rerun, right around Ganyu and Kokomi rerun. But if you consider that, like Ganyu and Kokomi, two of like, you know, two staples in the game, are pulling in the same number. Granted, that's the rerun. But, you know, it's, I mean, Kazuha and Klee rerun. I'm sure 80% of that is Kazuha. Maybe 90% of that is Kazuha rerun. Shogun's first banner is here. What I'm really interested in is whether Nahida banner is going to come close to this. That's my question. How is Nahida? Because this is CN as well, remember, right? CN's response to the interview or the GameSpot article wasn't as bad as EN. EN really like lost it. We lost it, right? But CN didn't seem to care that much. They were like, well, it is what it is, right? They weren't that fazed by it. Scott answers that, why can't we give it credit when it beats the Zhongli rerun banner? Like, I wouldn't say it's a bad banner. Like, if you guys want to point fingers, it did better than Kazuha's original banner. Right? Okay, let's go back. Like, if we really want to point fingers, it's very close to Hu Tao's original banner, right? I mean, it's not too far away from Yaimiko's banner. And I'll be honest with you, Nilou plays better than Yaimiko when Yaimiko first came out. Yaimiko feels much better now, but right now, Nilou, even in a free-to-play team, she's very powerful. But it seems like CN doesn't value that kind of power. Interesting. But this is also the first day banner revenue, right? Like, it's just one day. This isn't the whole banner revenue. I can't believe they made 10 million US dollars in one day. Is that one day as well? It's disgusting. But yeah. Right? It beat out Ito's banners. It beat out Zhongli's original banner. It beat out Albedo's original banner. It beat out Yoimiya's rerun, Ganyu Kokomi rerun. It beat out Eula's original banner. Right? It beat out Kazuha. So it's not really it's not really a measurement of her strength, if you want to talk about strength and value, because then Kazuha, oh, why is Kazuha? Because metas change. Right? So, but I just want to highlight the fact that, you know, this isn't the best banner, but it's not, like, terrible. And here's the thing, right? I wonder how many people even knows that Nilou isn't functioning at her full potential right now. This is the thing that really interests me. Is like, once I played Sino, and then once they revealed Nilou's kit, I knew for a fact that Nilou is going to be in a very similar situation to Sino, and both of them are going to want Nahida on their team. Now, here's the other question I have for you guys. If you love Sino and Nilou, and there's only one Nahida, does that mean you cannot play both teams on two sides of the abyss? Because one will have to play with the Dendro MC instead of the Dendro Archon. Which is not a big problem, I'll be honest with you guys. Right now, Nilou has proven that she could play with like a Kole and the Dendro MC just fine. But it's definitely is definitely holding her back just a tad. Because imagine a scenario where you only need one Dendro unit on the team and you can have 3 Hydros. Imagine like using Ayato on your team with Nilou. You have Ayato, Nilou, and maybe Kokomi, and then have the Dendro Archon, and have like have Ayato on field to drive, or like Tartaglia. That's gonna be such a cracked out team with on field as well, right? Because prior to that, you're running Kokomi on field as driver, but it would be so much better if you can have a dedicated on field carry in your in a Hydro character, and that could be unlocked. That could be unlocked with Nahida. I'm not saying it is, because I don't know what Nahida does, but just imagine that versus running double Hydro with Kokomi and Nilou, and then running the Dendro MC and Kole, and you're stuck with that until another really good Dendro application. That's a scenario where if you want to play both of the new characters, right? So even for people who want to play both new characters, you can't, because you only have one Nahida. So, Techie the Virus says, Walrus, Nahida will not fix kit problems for Sino and Nilou. She will just improve Dendro application. But that's all I want. Right now, I absolutely hate how small Kole's application is. And the Dendro MC, it's okay, but like in certain scenarios, it just feels like I have to retry a couple times to get the right AoE to make sure the mob's AI doesn't run all over the place. It's just a little frustrating, and I hope the Dendro Archon can be consistent enough and have a large enough application. Hopefully she can even buff me a little bit to give me more damage, and just makes things a little easier and more straightforward. I don't want to have 2 characters in my team to do one thing because I'm lacking enough of it, right? Like, for example, you guys don't ever want a situation where you need 2 Xiangling characters to apply enough pyro to like play Vape Xiangling. That just doesn't make, that's such a bad feeling to have 2 characters essentially doing the same job because one of them is just not enough. That's what it feels like right now for Nilou teams. Is that one Dendro, it doesn't matter if you're using the MC or just Nilou, it just doesn't feel like it's enough. Maybe I'm just bad, but to correct me if I'm wrong, from what I've seen, usually people are running 2 Dendros because you need that much application to be synergizing with Nilou's kit. So here's the thing with Nahida then. You only have 1. And both of these characters need her. So what's up with that? If I want to play first half Sino, second half Nilou, well, I'm still boned on one half. Why are they making these characters that are so in need of of another limited character? This reliance only will cause problems going forward. Esiel6430 says, I honestly prefer triple Hydro plus 1 Dendro. Planning on running Nahida, Ayato. You mean Nilou, Ayato, Nahida, Kokomi. You have Nahida twice. I wish we have 2 as well, because it would be so fun. Because right now, don't you want to play with the new stuff? I know Hu Tao, Vape Hu Tao is strong. I know like Raiden Hyper Carry is strong. Raiden National is strong, but aren't you guys bored of those teams? I mean, people play those teams every single patch, man. Like, we finally got a new Dendro reaction system going on here with new characters. But it just sucks, man, that these new characters really want the Dendro Archon. And both of them want her. They both want the Dendro Archon. We never had a situation that is like what we are in right now. Goated Gang Gaming. Ooh, dude has a check mark. Ooh, my god. What's up? Very rare we see verified people around here. Yeah, it's like Goated Gang Gaming is so bored of National. Like we're bored of this stuff. Like, yeah, it's strong, but like I'm sure, especially in the West, we thrive on like new, exciting things like meta, being efficient, min-maxing. It's just, it doesn't feel like that's what we're chasing anymore. We're not chasing for clear times. Like, what's the point? We want something new, something refreshing, but at the same time, we don't want to like struggle while we're playing it. Right now, I find that Sino is fun, but it just like, it feels like he's supposed to like be nuking them, but he's tickling them for the most part. I mean, yeah, like the damage is enough to clear the abyss, and even 36 starred if you optimize it well. But it just feels like he's dropping these huge hits, like smashing into the ground, electricity, just like bam, like and then it's like 23k. You got a chef from Liyue spinning her freaking spear around her, dealing like 40-50k per tick. Like, what's up with that? And then we got like a literal demigod looking dude who's like transforming into an Anubis like demonic creature versus some chef from Liyue spinning her spear. I mean, okay, granted the chef from Liyue also has a demigod as a pet. I get that. Yeah, she has a god with her. It doesn't fit the character. And I know the Dendro Archon is gonna make his damage better, more consistent, right? EroticWalruss says, Walrus, that is a Sino kit problem. His passive should have given him better aggravate damage since he can't get buffs to last. Yeah, he lasts so long on the field that nothing can synergize with him. With the exception of like Zhongli Shield. Zhongli Shield is like one of the only skills, and maybe Albedo E. Yeah, like Albedo E can synergize with him. But then, like, what's gonna be the team? Zhongli, Albedo, Nahida, Sino? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, are they gutting Sino? Like, what's going on here? We'll have to see, because right now it just feels like every time we have one of these characters. I mean, the only exception is Ayaka, but apart from Ayaka, look at Sino, look at Yaimiko, look at Zhao. Now, every time I bring up Zhao, people feel like they want to throw hands, but I'm honest. I'm being honest with you guys. They really didn't put much effort into Zhao, because they're relying on the popularity of the character to sell, as opposed to their strength. And it's worked for them every time. So it's like, okay, then why should we as the players still be as excited for these characters? Because we oh my god. My cat is on my bed. What about Ito? Ito wasn't like teased. Like, I'm talking about characters who the players were excited about even before knowing their kits, right? We saw Ayaka, we saw Sino in the pre 1.0 trailer. We saw like Ayaka was in there too. We saw Zhao. When was it? When was the first time we saw Zhao? I remember he was extremely hyped as well. And then Yaimiko, ever since her chibi was teased on the CN livestream at one point towards the end, people have been going crazy for her. So like all these really excited, like these characters people were excited for, just came out really half-assed. It's very disheartening. And I'm not one to really to care about the meta, and you guys should know that too. Like, I'm not one to really care about the meta, but it just feels bad that I have to put so much more effort to make these characters feel anywhere close to let's say Hu Tao Vape or Raiden National. And in fact, even with all the investments put in, you can't even get it close. And I know it's very copium to say like Nahida is going to fix all of our problems. She likely isn't, but she's going to be part of the solution. And I don't know, I've been seeing the meme of people saying like, you need a limited character just to make the current limited character work. So I'm gonna end the poll here. Tignari is actually really good and satisfying to play. Tignari first. So here's the thing, right? Tignari solved some of the issues that Electro characters were having, like especially off-field Electro. For example, Yaimiko, Fishhook was basically revitalized, and the Dendro MC and the Kale solved some issues for on-field Electro characters that felt a little weak, like Beidou, Kaching all started finding a little more presence in for play. They didn't suddenly become the best, but they suddenly felt much better. That's what Dendro's first introduction has done. That's like the good stuff. And then they release a new limited character. It's almost like Hoyoverse makes it so if you want to enjoy what the new stuff has to offer, you have to fork over some money. Right now, if you want to play Sino, well, you first have to get Sino, and then you likely have to get other limited characters to pair with them in the future, whether it be Nahida or like some other Dendro character or whatever. And then now with Nilou coming out, she likely also needs Nahida, if not another character in the future. It's just this really puts a sour feeling. Like, I mean, sure, a lot of people would, the counter argument to that is like, well, you got the Dendro MC, just use the Dendro MC, it's free, and you got 2 copies of Kale, it's free. Like, why are you complaining, right? You can synergize with these characters, but yeah, like, but it's not the best you can get, right? And you can say, well, you're greedy. You want to get the best, but you don't want to spend money for it, right? This is a free game with free content. I already can hear the counter arguments, but it's just like, I already paid for Nilou, right? I use this as an example. It's like you buy a car, and on the car it says you can go up to 220 kilometers. I'm sorry for my American friends, but kilometers is what most people so 220 kilometers per hour, but in actuality your car can only drive up to 160, and if you want to get access to that 220, you have to pay an additional fee to unlock it. It's like, then why don't you just make it say 160? Like, why do I have to pay more for something that I already paid for? It feels like that. It feels like I already paid for something, but I don't get to unlock its full potential unless I pay for additional packages. So it's like, it's that kind of sour feeling. It's like, well, why is it like this? Kilometers bigger than miles. Okay, we're not gonna get down that rabbit hole, but that's the example I used in my videos, and that's the thing, right? So what I really want to look out for is how Nahida's kit works. Now let's start talking about what I think Nahida's kit should be. Now, don't look at leaks, believe it or not. If you guys don't believe it, hey, suit yourselves, man. But I don't look at leaks. However, to deduce Nahida, you have to look at what current characters lack, right? As EroticWalruss has been saying, like, Hoyoverse creates a problem and then sells you the solution. So right now, what is the problem? Right? What is the problem? It's very easy to look at what Nahida likely will do if you just look at where the problem is. So right now, Nilou, personally, I feel lacks consistent Dendro application from one character. We are wasting an entire team slot on Nilou teams. That second Dendro character shouldn't be there. we should be freeing up an extra slot. Right now, this team could be better. Let's say if you have a better on-field Hydro character playing in it. Tartaglia is one, Ayato is another. While Kokomi driving is good, I don't think it's optimal. I think Kokomi's best strength is still her Jellyfish Hydro application. Very consistent, and cycled with her burst skill can give you, I believe, 45 seconds of Jellyfish if you cycle it with her burst skill properly, because her burst refreshes her Jellyfish, and by the time her burst ends, her Jellyfish CD is done again, so you get 3 Jellyfishes in a row. That is insane. 45 seconds. If you're playing your teams right, 45 seconds is enough to kill like even Abyss 12. It shouldn't even be an issue, and you should have your burst pretty much ready to go with 2 other Hydro characters on the team, right? So you essentially have unlimited Jellyfish with Kokomi if you can have a 3rd Hydro character. That's why I think Nilou teams, one of the first issue is there needs to be a better Dendro applicator. That is like without a doubt. So now we look at Nahida. She is the Dendro Archon. You're telling me if the Dendro Archon isn't applying Dendro better than like the Dendro MC, we are really working backwards. Like, and God forbid Hoyoverse on like locks additional Dendro application behind C1. Listen, all right? If Nahida comes out and her Dendro application is not enough for a Nilou team, unless you get like C1, hey, we about to have some problems, okay? Here is what I'm okay with being locked behind Constellation for Nahida. Damage. Damage is what I'm okay with, because right now we don't need more damage. Damage should be a luxury, not a given when it comes to Constellations, right? I'm okay with, let's say, an extra 30% damage boost locked behind C1 for Nahida or Dendro reaction. I'm okay with buffs. For example, an additional EM buff. Let's say her her C4. If you do any Dendro reactions or characters standing within Nahida's Dendro field or whatever the frick they're gonna call it, is gonna receive like 150 EM or something like that. I'm okay with that. Right, that all just scales back into damage. Right now, what I need from a C0 Nahida is proper, consistent Dendro application. That's it. I think if they can give us very consistent Dendro application with no hassle, ideally it's either extremely freaking big, like very, very big, to the point where no mobs can like really get away from it, or it follows you. It uses your character as the center and it just follows you around like that, like a Goro was Goro burst skill. Because that's the only scenario where like I feel like it would be fine. Don't give them ideas to milk us more. Well, that's the thing, right? Like if Nahida has self buffing, like not self, if Nahida can buff the team without Constellation, that is like, to me, that's an icing on the cake. That's like the cherry on top. Like that's really, really good. Right now, if she just applies really good Dendro with good synergies all around, meaning that she's going to be an incredibly versatile character, and you're going to be fighting for her in many different teams going forward. Think about it. Right now, it's like you can either ride an electric scooter in Kale, drive a 2000 Honda Civic in the Dendro MC, or you can be riding in a McLaren in the Dendro Archon. You know, it's the choice is up to yours. The choice is up to you. That's how like that's how crazy I think this character should be. That's how different it should be, because Look at the Dendro. I mean, look at the Electro MC versus the Raiden Shogun. How comparable are they? How comparable are they? Is it even comparable? Are they even on the same plane of existence when it comes to efficiency and usefulness? Zhongli is the perfect example of a C0 5-star. Yes, Zhongli C0 as a 5-star is incredibly high value. Yeah, the gimmick is energy recharge, but how many people are still rocking Electro MC? No, like, no, really. Apart from when the Electro MC first came out and all the content creators were talking about it, people were so copium, being like, "Oh my god, Electro MC is so damn good. Why are people? Then why is nobody playing it anymore? Like, why are people not actively, playing Electro MC all the time, like everywhere they go? Right? It's because it was just a budget-friendly, momentary thing." And at the time, content creators were talking about it and playing it because that's just clickable, right? If you don't have the Electro Archon in very niche scenarios where you need additional energy recharge, you can play the Electro MC. But there is no energy issue that cannot be solved with proper weapon. Like, well, I guess it's limited weapons like Favonius weapons and stuff like that, or sacrificial weapons that could take care of it, or proper artifact optimizations can solve all your energy issues. There's not a single team in this game right now that you cannot solve their energy issues with Favonius or sacrificial or building proper energy, right? I almost want to say, even for the Electro Archon, like the Shogun, you run her more for her, like, more so for her damage than her energy recharge. But that's not quite true, since I think it's almost half and half. They're both equally important. Without her energy recharge gimmick, you lose out on uptime, which lose out on a good chunk of your damage. Uptime basically is damage in this game. So maybe that's not the right statement. I have to retract that. So right now, the thing with the Dendro Archon is, she has to be like leaps and bounds better than the Dendro MC. Just look at what happened to the Electro MC once the Shogun came out. How many people still actively uses the Electro MC? Very, very few. There always will be, right? There always will be, but very few. Immediately, the Electro MC just retired. She had like a patch of glory, and then she retired. It's gonna be the same for the Dendro MC. It has to. Well, it has to, unless both Sino and Nilu wants the Dendro MC. Then we have a situation where, well, I mean the Dendro Archon. Then we have a situation where the Dendro MC kind of can live on as a temporary fitted character in these rosters. Am I worried for the Dendro MC and this kind of business model going forward? I'm not too worried, but it just makes it hard for me to pull out my wallet, knowing that this is like a very calculated move by HoYoverse. I mean, everything kind of is a calculated move, but this is so obvious, right? It's so obvious. They're just trying everything they can. First, it was the constellations. They stopped making C6s like the end goal, and they made it like C2 for a lot of the 5-stars to be most people's end goal. Getting a C2 5-star could mean really, really good value for a lot of players. And C6, when it comes to dollar or like primos per value, oftentimes cannot compete with C2s nowadays. So that was the first major change they did in this game to actually skyrocket their monetization. Meaning that Raiden Shogun's banner doing as well as it did is largely in part due to her C2 being so valuable. At the time, even till this day, we don't see many Constellation 2s that are of that kind of value. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried, of course, to replicate that success by having the Dendro Archon Constellation 2 being a very good sweet spot, just like the Raiden Shogun one. But on top of that, they're backloading, I guess is maybe the right term. Is it backloading or front loading? Backloading the Dendro Archon's value by pre-releasing characters that really need the Dendro Archon. So that's going to give it a little bit of a boost, like a padding. People who pulled for Nilou most likely are, like, I want to say maybe 70-80% of the people who pulled Nilou are going to be pulling for Dendro Archon. Maybe they don't care about the Dendro Archon as much as they do Nilou, because Nilou, you know, she's a dancer, she's cute, she's elegant, and she's just likable. Maybe people don't like the Dendro Archon that much, but they will have to pull for the Dendro Archon because they love their Nilou so much. So there's that, you know, that situation going on as well. If we think back, like let's just backtrack a little bit, right? When Zhongli was released before Hu Tao, and I would want to say Zhongli is a staple in Hu Tao teams, right? Not just because they work together, but they make a great pair. They make a great synergy. Ayaka didn't really need Kokomi to succeed, but Kokomi was a nice touch-up to Ayaka Freeze teams. What else? Zhao was released after Zhongli, and Zhao, eventually people figured out Zhao's paired with Albedo and Zhongli were a great pairing. So, you know, back in the day, it was always that the supports were already in place prior to the character coming out. That's why, like, I really want to point out this scenario we're in right now is the carries are first coming out first, and then the supports are coming out afterwards. I guess does the order really matter here, or do you guys think this feels scummy? Because back in the day, let's say when Zhongli first came out, then Hu Tao came out, then Zhao came out, and both of these characters really liked having Zhongli on their team. That shielding really made them feel safe and really gave you more room to deal damage as opposed to dodging and stuff. So Zhongli was Zhongli was an all-purposeful character since his introduction into the game. So Kazuto, Kirigaya, GYT. That took me a while to say, but I can play Bloom without Nilou. Kokomi exists. I feel Bloom team alone with Kokomi, Dendro, MC, and Nahida is OP enough. Nilou is just eh. Definitely, Nilou feels like a luxury Bloom character, right? Like, that's why they had to put a twist on it. Like, without the Super Bloom twist, let's say if Nilou just came out and she was just a Bloom character. That's it. That's it. It almost feels like it's like no effort. But creating Super Bloom for the sake of one character. You know, I think that's where the value really is at for Nilou. It's not Bloom. It's Super Bloom. And that's just like Bloom with extra steps. It's like HoYoverse knows we're bored and we're always craving for something new, so they'll give us something new, but of course they have to lock it behind a paywall, or you have to have saved up like 3-4 patches worth of Primo Gems to have a shot at getting her. And even if you got her, you still need another limited 5-star to synergize with her. So, you know, it's like, if you really want to cure your boredom for this game, it's getting more and more like, well, you got to spend some money. You kind of do. Or you just got to skip multiple patches of characters. I guess reruns are very skippable. If you play this game and you're dedicated enough and you want, let's say, Deihya, right? Let's just say the new Pyro mercenary girl. You want Deihya. You've been wanting her since she was first introduced. You skipped what's his name? You skip Tignari, you skip Sino, you skip Nilu, you skip Nahida, you skip all the 4 stars as well, you skip all the reruns as well, and then you go get Dehya. And then you realize, well, if you want to play Dehya, you need Al Haitham. No, let's just pretend. I don't know. Nobody knows. But what if after you get Dehya, you're like, okay, I got Dehya. And then you realize, wait a freaking minute, Dehya needs another new Dendro character to synergize with her to play Burning. And then you realize, oh crap, I need Al Haitham? What now? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? It's the same scenario. It's the same scenario. Like, oh my god, I love Sino. Sino looks so cool. You get like blah blah blah. You skip all this, and then you get Sino. And you're like, oh well, now you need the Dendro Archon. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Do you love them enough to give them the best they need to succeed? Do you love them enough? Do you like the character enough to make sure they have all the tools they need to succeed? Or are you just gonna watch it slip away from your fingers? You're gonna watch other people play your favorite character at maximum efficiency, doing huge numbers, or like accessing incredible uptime with their bursts or synergies, while you're just sitting here playing the budget version. How does that feel? Right? For most of this stuff, it feels like HoYoverse is using the community against you, right? Because they know the YouTube videos, the marketing, all this stuff is going to come out without HoYoverse having to do anything. Because these people need to make money. Content creators needs to make money. So, right, like for let's say you skipped everything to get Nilu, and you didn't know you needed Nahida to make her feel efficient or make her function at high performance. Then come next patch, you're gonna see videos. I'm guaranteeing you're gonna see videos of Nilu just taking off, and you, as a free to play or as a low spender, you never prepared enough for Nahida, or you had enough to try for the 50-50 and then you lost it. You lost it, and just to rub it in, they gave you Tignari. Right? They give you Tignari. Now you are guaranteed Nahida. What are you going to do? And maybe they're even generous enough to give you like 2,000-3,000 primos. So now you only need like what? 55 summons for Nahida. What are you going to do? And every day you see videos. You see your friends. You see people like on Reddit sharing like, oh my god, my Nilu is cracked. Nahida is so damn good. Nahida makes Nilu feel like a goddess. And then, I win to lose, Ziox, Braxophone, Sevi Plays, all these guide people coming out was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. Like, Gotcha Gamer, all being like, Nahida changes everything. I wonder what that does to people's mentals, especially when you're a young, impressionable teen playing this game. It is what it is, right? And I'm personally okay with it. I don't think it's like a doom and gloom. In fact, Nahida being so damn good spells great things for people who are capable of dropping a little bit of extra money in securing her. Sounds anxiety inducing. It's almost like HoYoverse has literally been leveraging anxiety as a weapon against people's insecurities in FOMO. Oh my god. And then they backtrack and say, well, we're not going to do this because it causes our players excessive anxiety. Remember, anxiety is okay. Excessive anxiety is not okay. HoYoverse is all for anxiety because they weaponize that stuff against you guys. But excessive anxiety, no, that's where we draw the line. No. We can't have that. But small dosages is good. We can let that slide. It's freaking hilarious when you actually realize When it's okay when HoYoverse apply moderate amount of anxiety tactics against their own community to leverage for more monetary gains, but when 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 it goes too much, excessive, no, we can't have that because we love our players. We can't have their mentals go boom boom on us. Nilu needs a lot, but those needs haven't been developed yet. Yeah, needs each sold separately. I don't think FOMO is moderate amount. I think HoYoverse decides what is moderate, what is excessive. Anxiety is when you lose 50-50. Yeah, anxiety is every time a Chi-Chi pops up on your screen, isn't it? You just feel like your blood pressure rising and you're about to bust a vein in your head. Losing 50-50 every single time does something to you. I don't know if it's anxiety, but it's definitely some sort of something. Something feels off. Needs sold separately. Yeah, no, that's actually what it is. Most people knew Nahida will make Nilou better, and majority pulled Nilou knowing they need to save the primos for Nahida. But you don't have enough. You just don't have enough. When was Nilou announced to us? Even if you look at leaks, at best you were probably informed a month or maybe a month and a half ago, right? And knowing her kit and all that stuff and likely predicting that she needs, like, you had like maximum 2 months. 2 months isn't even enough to save for one character, let alone 2 5-stars, limited 5-stars. That's not enough to guarantee both. It doesn't matter like what kind of like you can have a deity whispering in your ears and you wouldn't be prepared early enough. It's just how it was designed to be. If you want to guarantee both, you have to spend money. They made it so that it has to be this way, right? They made it like that. That's why I say if you have a little bit of money to spend on Genshin, you can have such a good time. If you have too much money to spend on Genshin or you spend too much, you're going to have a miserable time. If you have no money to spend on Genshin, you're also going to have a relatively miserable experience. It's unless you can really be in control of your desires. Be in control of your wants and needs and not have like anxiety. I know this is for real. Like you not have anxiety when you don't get something that you want, or else you're gonna have a very miserable time. Like small amounts of money in Genshin, like buying the BP, buying the Welkin, and on top of that, if you have let's say $100 to spend on Genshin a month, you are cruising in this game. You're gonna feel amazing. $100 on Genshin and you play actively to get all the events and all the primos and all the goodies. $100 a month is by no means like a tall ask for entertainment, right? Think about it. $100 a month for entertainment. I don't think that's a tall ask. You guys, if you think about it like a AAA game, like, oh, I can get a AAA game for less than that and I can play for like months. Yeah, but you can play Genshin for years. Granted, it's like $100 subscription almost, right? To think about it like that. It's way too much, man. Yeah, but that's the cost of playing this game comfortably. That's the cost. It's a free game. But if you want to play it optimally, comfortably, without the headaches that HoYoverse like designs into the game, $100 is like, I know I'm roughballing it, but that's like, that's an okay amount. Most people, I know most people don't have that money. I know most people don't have that money, but a good chunk of people, like if you're a working adult, which is what Genshin's target audience is, you have $100 a month for the most part, unless you live in countries with big wage disparities, right? But then again, I think Hoyoverse's main target audience is like China, Japan, the US, right? Canada, Australia, these kind of countries. I'm not saying like, because correct me if I'm wrong, how many people here are from the Philippines or Southeast Asia? I don't know the income, but $100 a month in those countries is impossible. That's impossible. I know, like I remember some people say like in the Philippines, a month's worth of rent could be like $200-300. Yeah, like $200-300 gets you a very good unit, and like their income every month is like $700 or something like that. Like that's like decent income, right? And asking you to spend $100 a month on a video game, that's just insane. That's insanity. But at the end of the day, there's other ways these kind of regions can contribute to Hoyoverse. That's why Hoyoverse is like, and of course, there are definitely people in Philippines who can drop hundreds of dollars. There are whales in Philippines too. All right, let's not kid ourselves. There are whales in every region. There are whales in every region. It's just, to Hoyoverse, certain regions are more monetary incentive. Like, they design monetary incentives for certain regions, like Giga Whales in CN, Giga Whales in EU or in NA, stuff like that. And they know in these other regions it's going to be much more difficult to attain this level, but to Hoyoverse is okay as long as you are contributing playing hours, right? Let's say you have artists in the Philippines, or you have people willing to contribute IRL to create cosplays and whatnot. That's still contributing. So like, of course it's worth it for Hoyoverse to get as big of an audience, because it's a free-to-play game. They never ask you to spend a dime, so of course you can still enjoy the game. They have other tactics to keep you hooked into the game, even without you having to fork over like hundreds of dollars. But I'm just saying, for people in these major regions, EU, NA, all this stuff, if you can afford $100 a month, this game starts becoming extremely comfortable to play. And I've done it. I've spent like, what, this is me sitting here telling you guys with my own experience. I have spent, in some months, I have spent like $800 to $1,000 in Genshin, and there are other months I've spent like $50, $100. I've spent $200-300 getting consolations, and like, out of all of the experience, I can say combined, that $100, like getting the BP, getting the Welkin, and then having a little bit left over to like make the difference to guarantee a character, or like getting lucky and not having to spend that additional money, felt amazing. It was basically, having the BP gave me a goal to constantly strive towards. Having the Welkin make sure that I'm padding my primo stock constantly. I felt like there's this artificially created incentive to log in, and it just, I know it sounds very copium. I'm literally just a sheep, right, or a donkey with a carrot dangling in front of me, but I'm putting myself willingly into that position to get more value for my time in this game. And I'm not justifying it, I'm simply stating my personal experience. BP plus Welcome, maybe 15 to 20. Yeah, and then the other $80, give or take, is going to be making up the difference for characters that you want. So, I can say with certainty after 2 years of playing this game, that's what the business model looks like. They want, the ideal customer are people who buy Welcome, buy BP, and make up the difference for character banners. They don't, like, Hoyoverse's target demographic, it was never Giga Whales who C6R5 every character. That's very copium to say, well, we only want to design the game for our Giga Whales for C6R5. You can tell it's not. Why did they incentivize C2 then? Right? No, like, answer that, right? If their target audience was C6R5 players, why did they make Raiden C2 so alluring? Because the goal for Hoyoverse was never the C6R5 players. Those players are like are like I keep saying, the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. The players they really want money from are the ones who can consistently, month by month, give them like almost a subscription like investment. No, people who can spend $100, people who can ideally spend $150, $200. Like maybe every banner they get the ideal constellation. Maybe this character C1 is really good, then they get C1. Maybe this character's C0R1 is really good, then they just get C0R1. Maybe this character C2R1 is good, then they get C2R1. That, my friends, are the ones HoYoverse is really after. It's consistent. It's not asking for like an insane amount, especially for somebody, let's say if you're making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, spending $300, that's like less than 10% for entertainment. And let's say if you play Genshin, you go hang out with friends, you can easily keep your entertainment expense to 15%, which is a little high, but it's reasonable. 15% spent on entertainment per month out of your total income. I know people who spend 40% on entertainment. I know people who make like $20,000 a month and they spend like $8,000 to $10,000 every month just doing random shit. I know people. I literally have friends like that. So it's like saying if you make $4,000 or $5,000 and that's like the average income of somebody in their late 20s, early 30s. I'm sorry if you're not making that. I'm not trying to rub dirt on people. I'm just saying like statistically that's a reasonable amount of money people are making in their late 20s, early 30s, and maybe even mid 30s. And then having them drop $300 a month to $300 a month on Genshin Impact, that's the people Genshin is trying to target. Like, that is exactly the demographic that HoYoverse is trying to pull in. Look at how they designed the game. Everything is designed for working adults. You guys know Shukai? How many people here know Shukai? The guy who's been around our community for a long time. He recently started working. This is true story, okay? Listen, true story. Some guy from our community, he recently started working and he works a little far away and he spends a lot of time to and from work. Guess what he's doing now? He's playing Genshin on his commute. 2 hours. He spends 2 hours on commute and he just spends time playing Genshin. No, like, here. I don't want to call him out, but I'm sure he's okay with me reading this. Okay, here's what it said. I'm beat. Wake up 6 a.m., leave at 7 a.m., come back at 8 p.m. I have barely any energy left to do anything. And then my response is congratulations, you are Genshin's main target demographic. And he says, I do my dailies on the train to work. My daily commute is like 2+ hours in total. That's a real conversation we had. But like, it's like, but that's the people who Genshin wants to play their game. That is. And it's insane to me that, like, I've never thought targeting these people would be so lucrative, but it is, man. Whereas, what about Sanzu? Sanzu is, I don't know if he wants me to share his personal stuff. Like, Sanzu is also working. He's very busy. Like, he still loves Genshin. He still finds the game interesting. And he was very pleased with what they did with Electro. Through Dendro. He was very pleased. He was very happy with how Kaching turned out. Sanzu is very well off, right? But even Sanzu, like, he has to prioritize his life. It's just a game. Sanzu likely isn't the target demographic for HoYoverse. Because Sanzu doesn't need this game to like, this game is really just a pastime, and he can splurge if he wants, he can stop if he wants. Right? But HoYoverse, like, think about it like this. Yeah, whales are good business, but it's very difficult to balance games around whales because then you end up in a situation where free-to-plays can never enjoy the game. If you really balance this game around the Giga Whales, who C6R5 every character, which Sanzu does, I believe up until Sumeru came out, he C6R5 like 80 to 90% of the characters. So he pretty much has a fully stacked account. He has like 12 Wolves Gravestones just sitting around. Like, that's the kind of whale we're talking about. These kind of whales are important. Hoyoverse, of course, loves them. But at the same time, it's not reasonable to expect players of that spending tier to fund your game. You cannot sit there honestly plan for these kind of players to keep your games live, because these players also come and go at a whim. You cannot psychologically control them. You cannot. Like, you really gonna tell me Hoyoverse is gonna try to psychologically trap Sanzu? Like, dude, the guy probably can just buy out the game, play it for a month, and leave. Right? He can just get everything he wants, play until he's bored in a month. Like, he can resin refresh every day. You cannot psychologically tie these people down. And if you cannot manipulate them, they become unpredictable. And for a company who has to project their income months into the future, you cannot rely on someone or a customer that is unpredictable. You guys see like where the problem is for Hoyoverse, right? If you base your entire business model around these giga whales who spend thousands at a whim, how do you know what Sanzu can wake up one morning and be like, damn, it's sunny, I want to drop $300. Where's the correlation in that? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's unpredictable, it's unreliable. But you know what's reliable is, this dude's gonna wake up and have to go to work from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. He's gonna come home, he's gonna be tired, he's gonna be on commute for maybe an hour to 2 hours. That's predictable. His routine is predictable. His income is predictable. Everything this person does is predictable, right? So you base your entire game around these people. You can predict their spendings, you can predict their habits, you can even do what do you call that? You can even do surveys on these people, because the world is full of these people working 9 to 5, or in China 9 to 9, right? Very tired, very hardworking people, and you can observe them, you can study them, and it can actually be a science. And building a business model, and these people are very easy to access. They're very plentiful. They're constantly looking for things to fill up their downtime. It's just a smart move to target these people. The whales will come regardless. Listen, people, like, if you have a good product with a high enough player base, the whales will come. Okay? I guarantee you. The top spenders will flock to whatever is popular, whatever is hot right now, whatever is a topic of discussion. If you have the player base, you're going to attract the whales. You're going to attract the pod. If that makes any sense. I believe if a group of whales is called a pod. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know what? I can correct myself. I'm committed now. What is a group of whales called? I'm pretty sure it's called a pod. A pod. There it is. So if you want to attract a pod, first make sure you have enough fishes. Does that make sense? I mean, if you have enough fishes, you can attract any pod. So Nahida is Nahida is the culmination of Hoyoverse's monetization model. It's actually an evolution. Starting from Venti, look at what Venti did, right? Venti depended on the raw hype of Genshin Impact. The raw hype. People were so hyped. We didn't know what the fucking Archon was. What the heck? An Archon? We didn't know how powerful that was. We just said, wow, pretty boy, big suck. Let's get him. Honestly, that's what it was. It was just, you came in and okay, he's a cool character. Let's pull for him. That's it. And then the second Archon came out, Zhongli. We had the whole freaking argument, right? Oh, he's so weak. He's it sucks. He sucks ass. And then they did the buff. Suddenly he became insanely good. Oh my god, this character is just amazing. His rerun, did very well. And then we move on to the Electro Archon, right? That's when they started experimenting with the constellations. Like, that's another evolution of how they monetize these Archons. Because I think Hoyoverse knows that the players knows that the Archons are like the staple of power in this game. So when the Electro Archon came out, they started experimenting with constellations. They're like, okay, how much will people drop? Because here's the thing. It's safe to assume there's a lot of people who also saved Primo gems. They don't have to spend money. You can save Primos, right? Knowing Nahida's gonna come out, maybe there have been people who've been saving for like 6 months, maybe even longer than 6 months for the Dendro Archon, right? Like, there are players like that. And compare that with people who are willing to drop an extra $500 to get a C2, right? Maybe less. Some people got lucky, $200-$300 and can get a C2 plus whatever you have saved up. How many people are willing to go to that length for C2, right? That's what Hoyoverse wanted to know. Are people willing to drop extra for C2? C6 is unreasonable. They realized because Venti C6 was pretty damn good. Like, honestly, Venti C6 was pretty clean. Zhongli C6 is not bad either. Like, pretty good. But Raiden C6 is just like, like, okay, all right. But then you look at Raiden C2, it's like, what is this? It's like, oh, it almost feels like if you just reach your hand out, you can grab it. That's like the feeling, right? Like, it's like, it felt like if I just reach out a little bit, I can grab that C2. Even free-to-play players probably had the copium feeling of like, oh my goodness. Like, free-to-play probably were thinking, I can't get it now, but on her rerun, I can get it on her rerun. But remember what I keep saying about Hoyoverse's business model. The money is never lost. It's only being reallocated. So for free-to-plays to think, oh, I'm going to get that C2 on her rerun, that's already guaranteed income. If they're spending. If not, then they're saving. But it's still like resource, which is their time. It's a resource. Free-to-play players, Hoyoverse is farming your time. Don't argue with me on that. It's not even up for debate. If you are a spender, they're farming your wallet. If you are a free-to-play, they're farming your time. Okay? So think of that as a resource. If you are already thinking, I'm gonna save for her rerun, you're fucked. They already got you, right? They got you. It's just you're spending later. But you're still spending. They never lost the money or your time. They still got you. That's what they were experimenting with for Raiden Shogun. It's like, where is that sweet spot? Is C4 the sweet spot? C1, C2? And they found it at C2. They found that sweet spot at C2. And now, have you guys noticed, Ito was, C2 was like, really, really good as well. C2 has just become like a staple for a lot of the limited 5-stars. Not all of them though. Like, granted, not all of them. If they really wanted to be like extra scummy, they could have made all C2s like really, 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 really good for a lot of characters. I'm sure they would have made more money, but I think they want to keep that power exclusive to Archons. So this all ties back to now Nahida, the Dendro Archon. This has to be the culmination of Hoyoverse's monetary experimentation. I guarantee you can go play Honkai Star Rail. You can go play Zenless Zone Zero. Everything Hoyoverse has learned from Genshin Impact is all going to be like likely applied. At least the monetization and stuff is going to be applied on those future games as well. Okay, and Nahida is simply another step of the game for them to test other monetization tactics. What I mean is release limited 5-stars that needs another limited 5-star. Release Nilou, who needs Nahida. They actually didn't do this back in Inazuma. Ayaka did not need Raiden Shogun. Neither did Kazuha. Right? And National was already existent. Raiden just needed to slide into it. National originally didn't need Raiden. Raiden was an upgrade in most scenarios. But this is the first time we've had limited 5-star that needs another limited 5-star. And a very popular one at that. Going forward, once we go into Natlan, once we go into Fontaine, expect this model to continue. Like say, like go into Fontaine, Natlan, likely you're gonna have 5 stars that are being released that needs the Archon to fully, unlock their potential. And on top of that, the Archon's going to have C2, which is going to be very juicy. And maybe the C2 will be heavily incentivized for non-Archon limited characters to synergize with the Archon C. Like, you don't know how this stuff can just endlessly compound with each other. That being said, that being all said, I still think the Dendro Archon is going to be an amazing and breath of fresh air for the game. Really, the game has gotten quite stale in terms of reactions and metas. If you don't play the meta, sure, you likely have been experimenting with a bunch of wacky different team comps, which is, kudos to you, hats off. You're definitely more flexible, at least mentally, compared to the vast majority. I feel like I'm calling people out, but I'm really not. It's just that most people don't have the patience or the resources to experiment, right? Like, I know it's unfair for me to ask free-to-plays to experiment with all sorts of team comps. They don't have the resource to level them up. They have to research online and see other people's findings and testing. So of course, it makes sense. But for the people who can test their own accounts, who can have the additional resources to try out weird, wacky synergies, you likely haven't ran into this problem. But for the vast majority of players, if you've been just playing 2-3 comps for the last, like, not even a year, like the last 6 months, that's enough to make you question your purpose in this game. So it's like, I think Nahida coming in definitely solves this problem. We can finally, after like 2 patches in Dendro, which is like 10 weeks, right? After 10 weeks of playing non-optimal Dendro, we finally have the staple, the queen herself, the representative, the one and only John Nahida is what I meant to say. So it is a good thing that she's coming. It definitely is. But the way that they led up into Nahida definitely feels scummy. But she's definitely a welcome to the meta. I swear to God, if Nahida teams don't end up like at least challenging some of the top options, I will be extremely disappointed. I don't know what Hoyoverse will be thinking, still letting National be at the top. Like, you don't have to beat out National, but at least make Nahida teams competitive. If not, what the hell are we doing? Like, I know reruns are important and all, but so are new characters, no? Like, are Hoyoverse really going to prioritize their rerun revenue more so than their new characters? Tech the virus as well as Nahida teams will never be as meta as National. National has been meta for 2 years. Well, see, that's the thing, right? Like, that's the thing. If you're going to make an entire new reaction system in a new region with a new Archon, and the Archon doesn't even come close to what's been, like, people been running for 2 years, I guess it's good for free-to-plays. If you're if you're coming into the game as a new player, sure, like, you're going to feel amazing. Like, wow, the game meta state hasn't changed in 2 years. But at the same time, it really puts into perspective and questions the purpose of even trying out these new teams. Sure, for the sake of trying something new, maybe people will pull. But when you realize, like, well, why did I pull for something new when I could have just used the old thing and done much better? For flexibility, for variability, or just for the sake of something new, that sounds like whale talk. That doesn't sound like something free to plays likely are going to want to experiment with. Maybe, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know when the next big thing is gonna come. If it's not the Dendro Archon, then maybe the Pyro Archon, maybe the Hydro Archon. These two elements are extremely powerful and heavily favored in the meta since the very beginning. Since patch 1.0, Hydro and Pyro has been two very strong elements. Granted, Pyro has fallen off a lot because they just don't have good Pyro characters released ever since, I guess, Hu Tao. Yoimiya is pretty good and she's gotten better, but she requires a lot of additional supports to make her feel good. Whereas Hu Tao, like, since Xingqiu was already in the game and Zhongli was in the game by the time as well, so was Albedo, Hu Tao immediately felt very good and stayed there. And Hu Tao team's only gotten better since, right? And Yoimiya started off okay-ish, but as she got more dedicated support, she felt much better. And nowadays, Yoimiya and Hu Tao, I would say Hu Tao is still better, but Yoimiya isn't too far behind, right? And then you have all these new characters which comes out and it's just like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, what were they smoking when this was being pushed forward? JM watches like, don't care beyond board of national in general. Like, national teams are so like repetitive. Wait, was Toma the last Pyro so far? Is he? Did Toma come out before or after Yoimiya? Have we had a Pyro character since Toma? That's a good question. I don't think so. Yeah, Toma was the last Pyro. That's crazy to think about. Like, Hoyoverse is so stingy with Pyro because Pyro characters can break the game with one little change. A lot of these Pyro characters can actually just break the game. They're very careful with them. Imagine Dehya comes out. Dehya is like a 4-star Pyro healer. I wonder how many people we're gonna find like writing angry essays. Like, she's a Pyro healer that scales off of defense. She only comes on the field to heal, and she can only heal one character at a time. But she has a double scaling. She scales through defense and elemental mastery. And on the off chance that you don't like her healing, you can try to play her in a Burgeon comp. But her application is going to be so lackluster and limited unless you stack over 1,000 EM on her, but then it completely guts her healing capabilities. And if you get her at the low cost of Constellation 4, she can heal and play in Burgeon teams. My god. Techie the Virus's Dehya is a 5-star Jinya, mark my words. That's gonna be the doom of Dehya. And there it goes. Sounds like Kuki, but just as bad. You know, Kuki has gotten a bit better since Dendro's started to, revitalize electro reactions and stuff. Yeah, C2 makes burning crit. Hoyo likes Jin Yan, and people have been memeing Jin Yan for 2 years. Jin Yan is just a character like I made videos in the past about this. Jin Yan was an experiment Hoyoverse did. They were experimenting with double scaling and they failed miserably because a 4-star doesn't have enough stats for double scaling. Look at Raiden Shogun. Raiden Shogun is a great example. Like with a well-designed kit and enough stats, right? You can make double scaling work. But 4-stars don't have enough stats. They don't have enough raw stats to make that work. So that's where Jin Yan failed. Just imagine if Jin Yan had more stats to work with, likely her defense scaling would have, and her physical damage scaling likely could have felt better. That's just how it is, people. Layla predictions. Honestly, I don't know what Layla does. I'm like looking at cryo characters. Like, what are we missing for cryo characters? No, really, think about it. What is cryo lacking? They have a dedicated buffer in Shinhe. They have an on-field freeze master in Ayaka. They have an off-field applicator, like tons of cryo application in Ganyu, and also on-field one-shot. Ganyu can also play Melt, so they don't really need Melt. They have a great healer and shielder in Diona. They have a 4-star arguably free-to-play friendly applicator as well in Rosaria, and they have a really free-to-play option in Kaya, which is like given to you for free. Am I missing anyone in cryo? And they even have a physical, like Eula. They even they even have a physical carry in Eula, one of the most niche roles in the game. Cryo already has it. What do they need? And they have Aloy. Yeah, like the only collab character in Aloy. They even have a useless one in Aloy. So, like, what does Cryo need? No, like, really, that's a good ass question. Like, Layla, is she gonna power creep? One of them? Because I honestly can't see Cryo needing anything else. No, really. Cryo doesn't need anything. They have it all. And Cryo doesn't synergize with Dendro. It doesn't, like, it just feels weird, man. Like, Catalyst? Oh, they have everything except the Catalyst. Is Layla a Catalyst? Then she has to be a Catalyst, no? If we're missing it, then she has to be it. Let us about a sword cryo? A sword cryo? And she's a 4-star? Here's a couple things that she cannot be, because she cannot be in the same role as Ayaka, because nobody would use her. She can't be the same role as Ayaka because Ayaka exists. Like, nobody would ever use Layla. She's just dead on arrival. So she can't be an on-field freeze. Right? You, like, just think of it from that way. Oh yeah, we missed Chi-Chi. Yeah, Chi-Chi. Like a dedicated cryo healer. Layla. Maybe she power creeps Rosaria? I don't know. She has the power creep one of them. Or like just become like maybe Rosaria and another character combined into one. Like a 4-star cryo applicator that heals? Something like that? Like something, like she has to be like a somewhat upgraded version of one of the 4-stars. Something like that. Like, that's because Cryo has no more roles that you really need to fill. So like she has to, and she can't power creep 5 stars because that's never gonna happen. So she has to power creep 4 stars, or because you see, this is the thing, right? Right now, what's the biggest problem in Genshin? What is the biggest problem in Genshin? It's the lack of roles, like the lack of team slots. Do you guys feel that? Are you guys following my drift here? Content! Stop! Stop! No. The currently existing problems that almost nobody is talking about is the lack of team slots. Wow, people just using this opportunity to shit on team slots. We need characters to be more consolidated. We need characters likely to do more than one thing. Like 2-3 things in one character is very good. Maybe a utility power creep. Maybe a utility power creep is what Layla's gonna be. Role compression. That's a great way to put it. Role compression is going to be very important in Genshin Impact going forward. And let's say if Layla can do what Rosaria does and what Diona does, or what Chi-Chi does, or something like that, like having these 2 purposeful roles mixed into one character, that's basically gonna alleviate an additional team slot for you to play with synergies. I could see that. That would be pretty cool. But that's still a power creep. It's a utility power creep. What if she's a 4-star Shenhe? She can't be, because it's just like the same situation with Ayaka. You can't really make 4-star versions of 5-star characters. You can make 5-star versions of 4-star characters, but the reverse doesn't work. But you could have 4-star characters have a portion of a 5-star character's kit combined with another 4-star, but like weaker version. I can see that, but you can't just have a 4-star that does exactly the same as the 5-star, but worse. WTF are they gonna do with future cryo characters? I think like people were saying, a cryo catalyst user would be pretty good. Cryo catalyst, that could be, I don't know, another freeze character. I think they could focus more on melt synergies for cryo. Right now, melt is, but I think that won't happen until a better pyro applicator arrives in the game. I think melt is pretty underrated, and underdeveloped by Hoyoverse. So that's something I really want to see going forward. Right now, Melt Ganyu is like the only one, and even that's like not very optimal. It's kind of like a copium team comp people just put together for the sake of playing it. Super Melt. Yeah. Just straight up melt a hole through my wallet. That's what it does. That's what Super Melt is. Melt Ganyu only works for C6. It does work for C0, like lower concentrations works, but it's just like there's better options out there. Like, why would you put yourself through Melt Ganyu? Why would you put Xiangling in a Melt Ganyu team when you can put Xiangling in so many other options? Like Tartaglia Vape, you can have like National, like all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, it makes sense. People just want to play something different, but it's just not optimal, and it's anxiety inducing. Yeah, people are saying Melt Ganyu works. I know. I was reading another comment. I'm not saying it. I'm reading comments, people. Reading comments. C0, like, I made videos about Melt Ganyu. Melt Ganyu works at C0, but you have to time it very, very well. And if you're just gonna, like, no-brain it, you're definitely gonna mess up the synergy there, okay? So, Chat, let's record the video. All right, as promised, let's record the video. Are you guys gonna be able to behave so I can leave you on screen? Or do I have to take chat off screen? Because it's such a pain in the ass. It's such a pain in the ass for me to edit the video and have one person say some really messed up shit on screen, and then I have to like find a way to cut it out. Remove us. Yeah. What will you make the video about? It's gonna be about Nahida and basically what we've been discussing and talking about, and I'm gonna consolidate it into like a video format, talking about some of the points, talking about the evolution of Hoyoverse's monetization models and experimentations, and how Nahida both you know, it's both the way she's introduced right now leaves a bit bitter taste in my mouth, but as well, I'm still hopeful going forward. A lot of people say like I'm very wishy-washy, but this is the truth of it. I don't like how they're making limited 5 stars reliant on other limited 5 stars, but at the same time, I'm thankful for the fact that we are even getting newer content and synergies to play with through the Dendro reactions, and Nahida being a staple going forward. I can definitely see her value in the meta. But at the same time, is she going to revitalize the current meta, or is she going to introduce a new branch of a new meta? How effective is it? Like stuff like that, right? Basically, I just set the whole video. But of course, I'm going to slow it down and kind of like make it easier to digest this kind of stuff. Okay? Hadrian says, did you think about all of this during the stream? I've been thinking about all of this before the stream started, so that I could talk about it with you guys on stream and really get a feel for how you guys are thinking. Listen, a lot of the things I end up saying in this video definitely have been influenced by what you guys have said on stream. While you sleep, hey, trust me, when I sleep, I don't dream about Genshin. I dream about some other weird shit. So, let's take chat off screen. Or, hey, or here's what I can do. I can make this chat turn into a members only chat. Perfect. Perfect. My members won't screw me, right? Emote only. Oh, can I do emote only? Can I do that? No, but our emotes are so sus. Our emotes are too sus. No, we don't have emote. YouTube is cringe. YouTube is really cringe. We don't have emote only mode. They have anyone, subscribers, members, live commentary, approved users. What the hell is live commentary? Like I feel like a boomer, you know. Okay. Members only. Okay. All right, let's try this. Okay, finally. Some extra perks of being members. Okay, there we go. Members are being sus. That's okay. That's okay. All right, let's make the video. Let's make this short and sweet. Maybe one take. Testing, testing. Okay. Sups up everyone, welcome back to another video, and we're actually here live on stream. I've turned chat to members only because YouTube is cringe and don't let me do emotes only. So yeah, all the members are here. We actually had a pretty lengthy discussion talking about Nahida, both pros, cons. It's not just pertaining to gameplay and her power levels, because that's boring. We have to talk about business side of things. We have to talk about Hoyoverse and how monetization has evolved through the utilize of these staple characters such as Archons. And Nahida being the Dendro Archon, you guys are actually already experiencing one of Hoyoverse's newly experimented monetization models, and that is having new limited 5 stars reliant on other limited 5 stars. Now, you guys might be thinking, well, no, Walrus in the past, right? Hu Tao needs Zhongli, stuff. I don't know, like, are there more examples? Like staple 5 stars, limited 5 stars that need other limited 5 stars? See, I'm really drawing a I'm really drawing a blank. I guess you can say Yoimiya also needs Zhongli. Stuff like that. People might even go as far as, well, Ayaka needs Kokomi, but I think that's starting to be a bit of a stretch. But right now, Nilou definitely feels like she needs a better Dendro applicator. Having 2 Dendro characters in her team right now just feels like they're, especially a 4-star at that, right? I understand. It's a free-to-play friendly team. There's value in having this team being available to people who picked up Nilou. Not everybody who picked up Nilou is going to pick up Nahida, but a large portion of people likely are. And more so, people are picking up Nahida not just for Nilou. So I understand this is not like the biggest of issues. However, if we examine things from the past, let's start with Venti. When we first got into the game, Venti was like the first limited character. He was an Archon, right? Well, back in the day, what did we know? We didn't know anything like artifacts and whatnot, like value in constellations. People kind of just went in and did it. Looking back, Venti was like an irreplaceable piece of, I would say, high performance character that pretty much single-handedly carried anybody who had him through the game until patch 1.6, 2.0 came around. For that, almost that entire year, Venti just smashed everything, right? And Zhongli came out sometimes, like just a couple months later, and with his initial release, he was underwhelming, but with his buff, he once again became a staple. And this is when Hoyoverse really kind of zoned in on Archons and how they could be great monetization tools. And here is the big experiment they did with the Electro Archon Raiden Shogun, right? So Raiden Shogun came along, and Hoyoverse decided, well, you know what? We want better ways to monetize. We want better ways to monetize these characters. So why not, instead of scaling the power all the way up to C6, why don't we just, still scale it up to C6, having value there, but why don't we shift around the primo to power value? What I mean by that is, it doesn't need to be at C6 to have the best investment to return value. Why not C2? So that's why Raiden Shogun's banner till this day is one of, I guess, the single best performing banner. If you want to look at reruns combined, like 2 character banners together, the Kazuha rerun, I believe, was the best. But the Raiden Shogun banner single-handedly just like broke all the metrics that Hoyoverse had up until that time. And that's when they realized recalibrating the value for constellations instead of C6 to C2 made it much easier for people to convince themselves to dump the money. So why am I saying this? The Dendro Archon is likely coming out. The Dendro Archon is going to be coming out in a short week or so. Like, I don't know. Like, it's coming out soon. But the thing is, right now, Hoyoverse is experimenting with a new monetization model. I already know, without even looking at leaks, that the C2 for the Dendro Archon is going to be another sweet spot. Hoyoverse is really just trying to replicate their success with the Electro Archon, now with the Dendro Archon, and trying to add more monetization tools. So the whole point of releasing Nilou before Nahida is so you can play this character, feel the inadequacies, feel what she is lacking, and then find that in Nahida, find that in the Dendro Archon, right? These 2 pieces of jigsaw puzzles should line up perfectly with each other, and on top of that, of course, Nahida C2 is going to be insanely valuable. So hopefully, right now, of course, at Hoyoverse HQ, they're like, if we play all our cards right, hopefully Nahida smashes Electro Archon's record. Now, I've reached this point, and I don't know what to say to this. It leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, right? Like, just now I was trying to recall in what scenario, when the Electro Archon came out, did she complete any teams that were waiting on her arrival, or was she simply a new character that could fit into old teams? Maybe part of the charm of the Electro Archon was the fact that she could fit into old meta teams. So now let's evaluate that for the Dendro Archon, right? Because that's a very important part of what Archons are supposed to do. They're supposed to be, first and foremost, flexible. It's no point in having a powerful character that is locked behind 1 to 2 teams. They have to be universal in some way, shape, or form, so to allow them to synergize with more than just one teams. And I think the beauty of the Dendro Archon is she is the culmination of all that HoYoverse has learned when designing Archons, starting from Venti to Zhongli to A, and now to Nahida. So, looking at her synergy potentials, likely she is going to further increase the value of the Quicken team comps with Electro and stuff. So think of Kaching, Beidou, Sino, hopefully, fingers crossed. Right now, I'm a Sino owner. I skipped Nilou. I chose to go with Sino. It's kind of like a Pokemon starter situation. So, I hope there's going to be some sort of synergies there, but I know for a fact that Electro likely will get another facelift. So people who have been experimenting with Kaching teams and stuff, just expect that to feel even better now. And of course, eradicating the need of double Dendro in Nilou teams, now dropping it to just likely a single Dendro unit, gives access to an additional Hydro character. So now suddenly older characters like Ayato, like Tartaglia, suddenly can find their way into new meta teams that have Kokomi, Nilou, let's say Ayato and Nahida. These are all amazing things, and this is key in selling Nahida to the general public, and also making sure that older characters are now also being incentivized. So let's say somebody who just got into the game pulled Nilou, and now they end up with Nahida. Wow, they got so lucky. They don't have Kokomi and they don't have Ayato or Tartaglia. What does that do for those characters? They're going to drive their sales up. So for people who have these characters, are likely going to be funneled now into future rerun banners for Kokomi, for Ayato, or for Tartaglia, right? Like this, from the business perspective, this all flows together extremely well. Partly also because we're talking about Hydro, Flow, Hydro. I'll probably cut that out. Anyways, as we are right now, hearing about this, analyzing this, and just realizing that this is the future we are walking towards, it's, you know, I did a poll here on my live stream, and 40%, maybe a little less, like 40% of the people who were here in chat were okay with it. But there were definitely people who voiced their concerns, be like, well, it doesn't change the fact that Nilou teams are still extremely niche. She's likely forever going to be locked behind synergies with only Hydro and Dendro characters, and likely the only Dendro she'll ever see till the end of time is going to be Nahida. I mean, look at national teams. Like, national team has been meta since the beginning, and it's still meta now. And is Nahida ever going to shake up the meta in any way, shape, or form? Is Nahida introducing a new meta, building on top of currently available meta, so like national and then Nahida meta? Or is it going to be national and then Nahida meta is just going to be like a branch off of this national tree that we have going on? Like, is national like the bark of the tree and everything else is just going to be a branch off of that bark? We don't know. It's very fascinating to me that HoYoverse, in order to continue to hold value in their rerun banners, meaning that they want these 4 stars to be good enough incentives for people to pull on limited banners. It's very easy to skip a 5-star banner if the 4 stars start to lose value. Does that make sense? Let's say, how many people would have pulled on the original Albedo banner had Bennett not been on the banner, right? So it's the same thing. I think HoYoverse realizes the importance of 4-star values on these banners, because a lot of what free-to-plays have to get excited for are also 4-star constellations. Keeping the value of national, making sure the staple 4 stars from back in 1.0 still retain their value, is one of the top priorities, I believe, at Hoyoverse headquarters. That means Nahida, when she does get introduced, she's definitely going to be a branch off from what we currently have available. But I find it difficult for her to kind of smash National or smash the status quo of what we currently have going on. And I don't know how I feel about that. I know people are bored to death with what National has to offer. Sure, it's a powerful team, it's extremely efficient, and it just crushes content, and any free-to-play can, after playing the game for a little bit, can easily put together that team. But it really doesn't take much of playing it to just it's not fun anymore, okay? And Genshin is not hard enough where you need to be running the most efficient thing available. Does Nahida change that? This is really the million-dollar question here. And going forward, for Natlin, for Fontaine, the Pyro Archon and Hydro Archon respectively, how will they play around with the metascape? Because Dendro is a new element and all this stuff is just new. I don't know how Nahida is going to shape them, but the Pyro Archon, the Hydro Archon going forward, they're going to build off monetization models that have been successful in the past. So it's going to be the culmination of Venti, Zhongli, A, Nahida, and then into whatever the Pyro Archon or Hydro Archon is. For example, when Natland rolls around, are we going to have characters that come out that needs the Pyro Archon to synergize with them to feel powerful and impactful? And on top of that, of course, the C2 has to be heavily incentivized, and then it's going to also reshape the meta. And maybe the Pyro Archon is also going to be an upgraded version of Xiangling, which we've been dying to get. So many questions, we just don't have enough answers. Apart from Nahida coming out recently, we also have new Sumeru characters that are non-Dendro coming out, like Dehya, and I believe is who's the other one? Wasn't there one more, or that's it? Hytham is Dendro, so I guess Dehya is the last non-Dendro character that was teased right back then. Correct me if I'm wrong. So how's Dehya going to work? Is Dehya going to work also with the Dendro Archon? You only have one Dendro Archon. She can't be in like 20 different teams, especially if you have first half, second half of the Abyss, right? How reliant are new characters to the single limited character? She's likely going to be the route towards a lot of these new metas. But there's only one of her. Right, so this video is coming out before the 3.2 live stream. I know it actually leaves more questions than answers, but right now that's what's been on my mind, is just racing through this stuff. Since I don't look at leaks, I don't have concrete answers, and I'm going to be looking towards the 3.2 live stream, seeing Nahida's kit to kind of piece everything together for myself going forward. What can we expect? Because once we have Nahida's kit, it's much easier to predict other characters' kit once we have the centerpiece. It's like a jigsaw puzzle that she connects to a lot of different characters. Once we have the centerpiece, it's much easier to build off of that. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to comment down below what you think of Nahida, and how does it make you feel that Hoyoverse is now releasing 5-star characters that are essentially reliant on other limited 5-star characters, especially one like the Dendro Archon being such an important character in the Dendroscape. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to be watching the live stream in a couple hours here, so if you guys want to, you can tune in right here on my YouTube channel. I'll see you guys then. Thank you guys, chat. I hope you guys have behaved. I'm going to be editing this video, and hopefully I don't see any really weird Sassy Baga stuff going on. No shenanigans. And I'll see you guys next time. Make sure to tune into live streams. You guys could be in videos if you are well behaved. Thank you, and bye. There we go. Okay, we're done with the video. Everybody's free. Everybody's free. Okay. 3.2. 7 hours, right? 7 hours. 7 hours we're going to be watching the live stream. I don't know how much of it I got right. I really wish Nahida is a C0 friendly character. If you guys have watched my takes on Raiden Shogun, I really did not enjoy her at C0 very much. I just felt like I had to put in too much resources, and I know a lot of free-to-plays are okay with that. Free-to-plays are probably like, but yeah. Not cool with that. What time in EST? 7 a.m. EST. If you're in EST right now, it's midnight, right? It's about to hit midnight for you. 7 hours from now. So 7 a.m. EST. 4 a.m. PST. EroticWalruss says all the Archons are amazing at C0. I would argue that right now, in my personal opinion, the best C0 Archon is Zhongli. He stood the test of time through all iterations of the meta. He's never really dropped out. And apart from Zhongli, I would say it's Raiden Shogun and then Venti. And Nahida, I'll be happy if Nahida fits somewhere between Zhongli and Raiden Shogun. After drama, yeah, Zhongli is just so damn consistent. He's too consistent. And then Raiden Shogun and then Venti. Venti kind of went through, like, if it wasn't for Kazuha and the shift in meta from smaller mobs to like big mobs, Venti would be number 1. If it wasn't for the whole Kazuha thing, Venti likely would have been number 1. But because of that, Raiden Shogun C0, like, but if we're talking about constellations, C2 Raiden just kind of takes the cake for me. It then becomes Raiden Shogun, Zhongli, Venti. Venti with constellations is like absolutely useless. It's the same. What was Zhongli like before the buffs? He didn't have the all aura shred, right? Reducing enemy resistances. He didn't have that. What else? His shielding wasn't as beefy, right? And I think that was I think that's pretty much it. Everything else was the same. His shield was much weaker, and his shield had no aura, no shred aura. Geo resonance at the time was like doo-doo as well. No HP scaling buffs. Oh yeah. He also didn't have HP scaling. He was just like what were people building on him? People were building like 8 attack, geo, crit rate, and building him as like a physical DPS or something like that. It was weird before he got changed. And that was like when geo resonance was like crap as well. What was geo resonance back in the day? I don't even remember. Well, yeah, the shield didn't bring out a pillar either. That's right. I completely forgot what he was like back in the day. Yeah, and Zhongli didn't have his artifacts back then, so we were still running like copium sets on Zhongli. We were running like 2-piece Noblesse. I remember people were running 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece Archaic Petra on Zhongli. So basically, Zhongli wasn't Zhongli. Yeah. He was kind of scuffed back in the day. I'm using Deepwood on Zhongli. Wait, does that work? Wait, does Deepwood work on Zhongli? Hold up. Zhongli was John Doe. Deepwood set. Okay, let's see. After elemental skill or element burst hits the target, Dendro res. Oh, okay. So as long as you hit with elemental skill or burst, it reduces. Okay, so technically anybody can use it. It's just the 2-piece effect is useless. Zhongli was not Archon level when he came out. I'm glad they... Yeah, definitely. Zhongli was not Archon level. Zhongli was a far cry from what Venti was capable of. But yeah, after the changes, he became so damn consistent that he easily rose to Archon level. And then Electro Archon coming out. Like, here's the thing, right? This is the problem I have with A. And once again, we're opening this argument to everybody. National was fine without Raiden. You did not need Raiden. Till this day, I still think there are versions of the National that are still really powerful without Raiden Shogun. Yes, Raiden National is the best iteration, but some teams simply just falls apart without Zhongli. if you try to play Hu Tao teams without Zhongli, if you try playing Yoimiya teams without Zhongli, if you try playing Zhao without Zhongli, it is incredibly annoying. It is very, very annoying. I would say borderline, some of those teams are unplayable without Zhongli. It's like, try playing Yoimiya without Zhongli. Sure, you can find another like Shiro. Like you can play Beidou, you can play Diona, but it's such a downgrade. The difference between Zhongli in these teams and the difference between Raiden in National, Zhongli's presence is much more felt in these comps. That's how I see this. Yeah, Ganyu without Zhongli is also hella annoying to play. Ito without Zhongli works surprisingly because Geo is Geo. Geo will be Geo. Hu Tao charged around China, but the thing is, one stray attack and your Hu Tao is dead. So like you have to play very, very, very good. And don't forget, like a lot of people underestimate that 20% all resistance shred. You guys realize how impactful that is, right? Like stacked over time for multiple elements. If you have like, for example, the Hu Tao team, you're getting 20% pyro res and you're getting 20% hydro res. So your Yelan, Xinqiu, and your Hu Tao all get that additional damage buff. And back then it was your Xinqiu, your Hu Tao, and your Albedo all had like enemies. They had geo resistance 20% reducted, hydro resistance 20% reducted, pyro resistance 20%. Like it's just, it changes too much. Like honestly, I don't feel like Raiden is as sure. The Raiden national team is very good. It's one of the best teams in the game. But without Raiden, that team is still extremely good. Not the best, likely, because Raiden just makes the uptime absolutely insane. They just supercharges them like freaking redneck on crack or some shit like that. But like at the same time, Zhongli fits in so many more teams. Like I literally named like 4 or 5 different teams that Zhongli is a staple of. And they're all like really good teams. And I feel like going forward, Zhongli can still be extremely valuable for any sort of hyper carry that needs protection. Like just need uninterrupted damage environments. Zhongli is always the answer to that. So that's why I think Zhongli is like the most consistent character in the game. So yeah, Raiden is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, Raiden is cool, but C0 Raiden just it's not worth it for me. It's not worth running her in like and investing into her. I'd much rather play other teams than C0 Raiden National. But once Raiden turns C2, like goddamn, like hey, Zhongli, take a seat. Once Raiden hits C2, she becomes the best Archon. You can give Zhongli C4 and he wouldn't even be. I would even say Zhongli C6 is not even the same as, like, I wouldn't even say is better than Raiden C2. That's the difference in value there. Like, a lot of this stuff changes once characters gets to certain constellations. Some characters transforms completely. Like, Yoimiya loses to Hu Tao at every constellation. But once you compare them at C6, Yoimiya smashes Hu Tao. Like that's the thing. Like how Yoimiya loses at C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and then suddenly C6 Yoimiya is just better. It's just like it's just how these characters were designed. I don't know why they were designed this way, but like Hu Tao C6 is kind of doo doo. If honestly, I don't like it. How badly does she smash Hu Tao? I don't know, but Yoimiya at C6 can hit for like, what the fuck was it? It's like 80k per auto, and then like some even 100k plus per auto. And it's just like a machine gun. Like she destroys everything. Everything just get mowed down. She's like a freaking minigun. Vape minigun at C6. Like sure, Hu Tao is still strong, but like she doesn't really compete with Yoimiya anymore when it comes to damage output once they both hit C6. So it's like Like Zhao C6 is a transformative constellation too. Granted, you need more than 2 enemies. If it's just 1 enemy, his C6 doesn't exist. I don't like those C6s, you know, conditional C6s. Hu Tao also has a conditional C6. I don't like those. They're like kind of yikes for me in terms of value. Meaning like you can only use that C6 in certain scenarios. I don't like that. Ganyu C6, another character that completely gets transformed at C6. Ganyu C6, Shotgun Ganyu, doesn't exist until C6. But once Ganyu hits C6, holy shit. It's like a different breed of monster. Yelan C6. Yeah, Ito C6. Kazuha C6 is not that, like, yeah, like, it's cool, but, like, nobody really... Like, Kazuha is such a good character at C0, it's almost, like, wasteful to invest into Kazuha C6. I'd say Kazuha C1, that's good. Yelan C6, what the fuck is that? Like, is that even... Like, are we still even in the same stratosphere when we... Shinhe C6 is good, but I also feel like Shinhe... yeah, like, okay, Shinhe C6 is pretty damn good. Okay, never mind. Shinhe C6 is pretty damn good. But yeah, like, transformative C6s. Zhongli C6 is kind of eh. Like, it's okay. Ayaka C6? Nah, Ayaka C6 is not that impressive, honestly, compared to some of these other C6. Like, in terms of value, I don't think so. Miko C6 is also not that impressive. It's good. These, like, all C6s have value to some degree, but like not all C6s are built equal. Not all C2s are built. Not all C1s are built equal. Like, I would say the best C6 in the game, hands down, is Yelan. Like, the amount of value you get in that character just skyrockets. She filled so many roles, and she's like a solo carry. She can be the best, like, off-field support. It's insane. And apart from that, C6, Ito C6 is just, what the fuck is even that thing? Like, Ito C6 is disgusting. Ganyu C6 is very, very good. I haven't really looked into Nilou C6, to be honest with you, so I don't know how broken of a character she is at C6. Yoimiya C6 is very transformative, but like getting from C1 to C5 just feels like you're actually burning money. It actually feels like you're burning money. It feels like you just burned $1,000 so you can reach C6. Xingqiu C6. Yeah, Xingqiu C6 is pretty damn good. C6, like, some of the worst C6 in the game is like, oh my god, I don't want to say it. I feel like if I say it, I'm gonna make a lot of enemies. What about Walrus C6, bro? I'm permanently locked at C0. I don't have a C6. C6 Saro is really good. The worst C6 in the game, hands down, let's see. The worst C6. Worst. Who's the worst C6 in the game? 5-star, okay, 5-star. Limited 5-star. Like, the C6 is just not worth at all. Is it Hu Tao? Wait, is it C6 Hu Tao? I think C6 Hu Tao is like probably the most yikes. It's like very yikes, the C6. Like, you need to act, like, you need to drop below 25% just to activate it. And it's on a 60-second cooldown, bro. 60-second cooldown for a Constellation 6. Not only does it have a condition to activate, it also has a 60-second cooldown. No, I'm saying limited 5-star. Chi-Chi is not a limited 5-star. Yeah, and you don't get a timer, so you don't even know. Like, this is pretty yikes. And to be honest, all of her elemental resistance, all of her elemental and physical resistance is increased by 200. Who cares? You have a Zhongli shield on you. Who cares? This doesn't matter. Her crit rate is increased by 100%. Again, What? Like, this is so cheesy. I remember when this first came out, people were like copium, like people were super copium about this, and they stacked like 300% crit damage just to get that 25% Hutao below 25% for that like 300%. Like, yeah, it works. Basically, when you're playing, when you are a C6 Hutao, you give up all of your crit rate, and you fully stack crit damage. And every 60 seconds, honestly, if they removed this 60-second restriction, maybe not remove, maybe reduce it to like 15 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, something like that. Every 2 infusions, I can get behind, right? Every other infusion, if she can get this effect, that would be pretty sweet. That means you'll have constantly have a 300% crit damage Hutao running around with 100% crit. So every single charge attack with crit. That would be pretty neat. But having it at 60 seconds makes this constellation really yikes. And you have, and don't forget, to fully utilize this constellations, you have to farm for the most cracked out crit damage artifact set. So yeah. Cool beans. Probably C6 Hutao is the most yikes. So many conditions. Not only that, you have to farm for artifacts. Yeah, I think it is. Ayato C6 sucks really bad. Some of these C6s just aren't that worth it, to be honest with you guys. Anyways, that's going to be it for me. I'll be seeing you guys in a couple hours, okay? If you guys can make it, definitely come back in 6 hours. I'll probably be live around 3 a.m. PST. So 6 a.m. EST. Okay? I might take a nap. I might not. So I might not have anywhere near this much energy. I might be like this later. But I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say. So come later, we're just going to be sitting here and enjoying the show. I think 3.2 is going to be a great patch. Nahida is really going to revitalize a lot of the boredom people have been having. Finally being able to unlock full potential on a lot of these teams. And yeah, just seeing new numbers, new insane damage numbers popping up on screen. And I don't know. I probably will get C0R1, but if Nahida ends up being like a Raiden Shogun situation, which she likely might be, I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable forking over another like $300-400. Not that I don't have it, it's just like, why? Right? Like, really, why? So, we'll see. All right? So until then, urge you all to stay safe. Peace. I'm going to be heading out here. Bye.